You can find peer-reviewed psychology research papers, also known as scholarly articles, right from the RVCC Library website. To begin, go to library.raritanval.edu. RV OneSearch, found right on the library homepage, is a great resource for finding scholarly articles. However, because it searches many of our databases at the same time, it can be hard to focus on a particular subject like psychology. Since you know you need scholarly articles from psychology journals, a better approach is to use psychology databases. To get to them, first click on Databases. Then select Psychology from the drop-down menu of Subjects. If you were researching for a different subject, we would choose that from this list and select a different database. However, many of the search techniques and tools we use today for psychology research can be applied to college-level research for any subject or topic. These first three databases will be best for psychology research. I strongly recommend that you use Psychology Database to do research for this project. This database offers the most relevant resources and tools to help you focus on exactly what you need. You could try these other options as well. Although each interface will look different, they will function similarly and offer similar tools. My research question is how social media use affects mental health. I'm going to search for social media and mental health. I put my terms in quotation marks so the database will search for these words as phrases instead of searching for each word individually. The word "and" is a powerful search tool that forces the database to find articles that include both phrases instead of just one or the other. To make sure the results come from a psychology journal, I'm going to search for psycholog asterisk in this second search bar and choose Publication Title from the drop-down menu. Using this word root with an asterisk right after it, we'll find any word that starts with those letters, so psychology or psychological. Although there may be psychology journals that do not have that word in their title, this is the best option to ensure the publication is specifically about psychology, and you should still have plenty of results. Be sure to check the box for full text and peer-reviewed, so we can find empirical research articles that we can read in their entirety. In this lower section, select Scholarly Journals from Source Type and Article from Document Type. This is another way to narrow down our search so the results will be more relevant. In our results list, notice the filters to the left. Most databases will have these tools, which allow you to further narrow your results if necessary. You could narrow by date if you had results that were too old, but I am going to leave this as is. You are welcome to investigate other filters, but sometimes they can have unexpected results, so be prepared to go back to the original list if necessary. Looking at the titles in our list of results, I think this first one might be a little outside the scope of my question. I will come back to this if I don't find a better option. This second one might work, but from the title I can't tell if it is about the effect of social media on mental health or some other relationship. The title of the journal does have the word psychology in it, but I also want to make sure that is a primary topic of this journal. If I click on the title of the journal, it will give me more info about it. This one lists psychology as the only subject, so I would consider that a psychology journal. Now I need to skim through the article to see if it answers my question. and is an empirical research study. I'm going to read the full-text PDF version so I can see the original layout. It also looks like the beginning of the abstract was left off on this screen. Looking at this article, I notice two things that stand out as not being what I need. The first is this passage. A crucial aspect of social media use is how adolescents struggling with mental health issues are coping, relieving, and reacting on social media. The focus of this article is how teens who already have mental health issues use social media, not on how social media might cause those issues. I bet I can find something more closely related to my question. The bigger issue is right here. The authors will review the literature on adolescent communication patterns, social media use, and potential benefits and risks of social media use. These researchers did not perform their own empirical study, but rather are writing about a number of other studies and how they relate to their topic of interest. Let's go back to our results list. This next option sounds promising. Clicking the journal title confirms this is a psychology journal. From the abstract, I can tell that this study does discuss negative effects of social media use and is an empirical research study in which the authors gathered data from their subjects. I would read the abstract and skim the introduction to ensure I want to use this as part of my project. Most of this introduction is a literature review, which discusses related studies as a way to demonstrate how this new study fits into, yet adds something new to the field of psychology. You are using two articles for a similar reason, to inspire you to create a similar, yet unique study. As we look through the article, we can see those parts of an empirical research paper or scholarly article. After the abstract and intro, we have the methods section, which explains the processes used by the researchers, the results, a discussion of those results, and conclusions. At the bottom of the article are the citations of those sources used to show how this study is related to other psychology research. Most of these have links. Some may take you to the full text, which would be very helpful, but RVCC may not have access to all of these. Even if you follow a link that takes you to a different interface, or you want to try a different psychology database, you should still be able to use all these techniques and find similar tools to help you with your search. Before we leave this page, notice the tools at the top that can help you keep track of your research, like citations, emailing it to yourself, or saving to Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. If you want to save the URL to this article, do not take it from the browser bar. Instead, take it from the citation. It is important to save the citation to this article if you plan to use it in your project. You must give the authors of this research paper credit for their work and avoid plagiarizing by properly citing any content you quote or paraphrase. This acknowledges the hard work of others and also shows your professor that the info came from a reliable scholarly source. This research process can take a little while, but the more you put into it, the better the outcome will be. This can be especially true if you use some of your time to get help from a librarian. Please submit your answers to this discussion in time for me to offer you feedback. You can also look for the Ask Us button on the library website to email or chat with an RVCC librarian. And remember that the skills you learn now can be applied to research for other disciplines and even at other colleges, which will have similar online databases that allow you to access scholarly research articles.